The war of controversy over male transgender athletes competing in women's division sports shows no sign of ending anytime soon. The purpose of this speech is to persuade you on why male transgender athletes competing in women's division sports is becoming a major issue and how that issue can be resolved. The speech that I'm about to give is one that I hope you can listen and pay very close attention to because the research that I have done has led me to the best possible solution for this issue. Transgender male athletes are trying to compete in women's division sports at the college level. Because of this, I feel as if there should be a transgender division set up for those athletes. If a transgender division is not set up for those athletes, more and more lawsuits will continue to pile up. And if one is set up, there will be no worry about competing against the opposite gender's biology. Here's the problem. Transgender male athletes are trying to compete in women's division sports at the collegiate level. According to AP News, more than a dozen current and former college athletes have filed a federal lawsuit against the NCAA, accusing the student governing body for more than 500,000 athletes of violating their rights by allowing transgender men to compete in the women's division of sports. If this continues happening for too much longer, it will not be surprising at all to see female athletes refusing to compete until something is done. Due to transgender men trying to compete in women's division sports, it does not provide a fair and equal opportunity due to the fact that a male's biology is not the same as a female's biology. Some people say that the biology of a male versus the biology of a female does not have any input on the fairness or equalness of a competition, but I believe those people are wrong. According to the National Library of Medicine, adult men are typically stronger, more powerful, and faster than women of a similar age and training status. Thus, for athletic events and sports they rely on endurance, muscle strength, speed, and power, males can typically outperform females by 10 to 30% depending on the specific event. This just proves the statement that transgender men have an unfair advantage when competing in the women's division due to their biology. Next, on how to fix the issue of the transgender male athletes competing in the women's division. After doing all of the research, the best possible solution I could think of for this issue is to create a transgender division so athletes who are transgender can compete against other transgender athletes without having an unfair advantage against the other athletes. How this solution works is that the new division will allow transgender athletes to compete in college sports that are not their birth gender, but it will keep them from going to a division where they would not have the same biology as the other athletes. This means that the male division will consist of those who have the biology of a male, the women's division will consist of those who have the biology of a female, and the transgender division will consist of those who don't want to compete in their birth gender division. For example, Leah Thomas is a transgender male athlete who competed in the women's division in swimming and won a national title against athletes that had a female's biology compared to a male's biology, says CNN US. By making this new division, it would keep athletes like Leah Thomas from competing against athletes with a female's biology. Some people say this won't work because, according to PubMed Central, transgender people are at a greater risk of failing to participate in exercise than average. So, the opportunities to motivate transgender people to engage in athletic activity would be anticipated to be a major health priority. I believe that this solution will work because, according to the Nebraska Examiner, there are only 32 transgender athletes that compete in college sports, and by creating a new division, it will only bring more transgender athletes out. Moving on to visualizing the solution. If the solution that I have provided is not used, the same issues of women filing lawsuits will continue to happen because of the transgender male athletes still being able to compete against those that have the biology of a female, while they still have a male's biology. If the solution that I have provided is used, transgender male athletes will be able to compete against other transgender athletes who have the same male biology, and the women's division will be strictly for those with the biology of a female. The purpose of this speech was to persuade you on why male transgender athletes competing in the women's division of sports is becoming a major issue and how that issue can be resolved. For the issue to be resolved, there needs to be a new division set up specifically for those who compete as a transgender athlete. If this isn't done, more and more lawsuits will continue to pile up coming from female athletes. However, if this is done, transgender male athletes won't have to compete in a men's division, and it will keep them from competing in the women's division against those who have the biology of a female versus the biology of a male. The war of controversy over male transgender athletes competing in women's division sports does not show a sign of ending anytime soon, but this simple resolution can put an end to all of it.